during, late summer 2016, particularly during like late July, during that year, um, a friend of mine who's just as much into a lot of 90s alternative rock just as much as I am, and particularly, female artists of that genre. She showed me a list of alternative rock songs that are basically, as of right now, are massively underrated. The site is called the 38 alt rock songs that you haven't heard or listened to in about 20 years. It's on BuzzFeed, and it shows like a list of songs that have basically not been having too much airplay in about, since the 90s, or since even later than that. Like you can barely hear any of them on like on the radio anymore, although you could probably hear, some of the stuff that's on that list on like Saturdays on XRT whenever they're doing like different years, like when they're doing like, 90s. Or you can also like listen. You can probably hear some of that stuff on like Saturday mornings on Q101. But other than that, you can barely hear that from anywhere else, unless the only things you can hear them on is probably just YouTube, or if you just buy an album from them. If you come across any of the bands that are on that list. But anyway, so the list consisted of songs like, Number One Blind by Veruca Salt, Not an Addict by K's Choice. I have that album. There was also Backwater by Meat Puppets. That's another great song. And, it had like a lot of good bands. It had a lot of good songs and bands on that list. There was also fucking Posies, Frente. There was also Way Down by Catherine Wheel. That's a really weird music video. And there's like a lot of bands on that list that I really want to get into. Like, I would really like to own an album from each of those bands on that list. There's like, the Lightning Seeds. There's fucking the Murmurs. They're kind of like Veruca Saltish, and this one, and there's a few other groups like Dig and Ammonia or something. Just a lot of other bands that have, that are on that list, and they just seem awesome, And like I said, I really want to get into a lot of those bands that are on that list, and that's when I came across this album when I was at my nearest half price books in Skokie. This was actually I actually got this a few months ago, during like May 2018, and I recognized that their song is listed on that list. That sounds stupid, but anyway. So this is a band called Joydrop. They're a Canadian alternative rock group. They are basically, they have fallen off the face of the earth as far as I know. But they have like another album that was released in 2001. But so far, this is like their most well-known album. The album is called Metasexual from Tommy Boy Records, and I really do like this band. The lead singer, she has like really lovely vocals. Like it's kind of a cross between like they're kind of like Garbage. They're kind of a bit like Eve's Plum, this obscure alternative rock group from the 90s, with Colleen Fitzpatrick, before she sold out and became a stupid pop singer, and I basically hate her new shit. But anyway, so their song Beautiful which is the second song off this album. That was actually the song that was on that list of underrated alternative rock songs of the 90s. And like, it has a music video for it. You can possibly like find that on, you know, YouTube, but Vivo doesn't have it. You know, it's because like this band is like so underrated that none of their songs are on Vivo, you know. And so they kind of have like a they also kind of have like a Luscious Jackson type thing going. Oh, and Naked Eye by Luscious Jackson also appears on that list, which is another thing. But anyway, so Beautiful did have some airplay. As a matter of fact, it was like basically one of the only songs of the band that have had some airplay, or, you know, just like publicity in general. Like, it has like appeared in some movies. You know, actually a lot. I don't own any of them, but the song "Beautiful," it has appeared in like Ginger Snaps 2. You know, the sequel to the Canadian cult horror film that I'm still on the lookout for. But the song was also heard during the end credits of this really like ultra obscure film called Attraction. You know, I actually like watched, you know, bits and pieces of that movie, you know, when it was on television. I don't own it, and you probably can't find it because it's like a you know, far from like a bottom rack film. You know, it's kind of a stalker film. It has like it's kind of like the movie Sex, Lies, and Videotape, one of my favorite movies. And the drummer from That Thing You Do, Tom Everett Scott, who he's in that one. And also there's Gretchen Mol from the movie Rounders. You know, she's also in that. Like, during the end credits, you know, towards the end of the credits, after I watched, you know, bits and pieces of that movie, there was like I noticed that they had like a ton of songs in it. Like I couldn't really truly see the songs in the credits because it was kind of blurry. But anyway, I looked it up on like on the internet, and I saw the movie had like songs from like Tori Amos and Wild Colonials. I have an album from Wild Colonials, and just a bunch of other stuff. And it was basically, you know, it was mostly alternative rock that they had. I mean, I'm not sure if they had like a soundtrack album to that movie or not, but all I know is that that's like the first time I heard that song, "Beautiful" by Joydrop, because I haven't heard of that song before watching that movie. But then that's when I came across this album. You know, I bought it for like, you know, $2. I mean, for $2, I mean, that's like something you can't walk away from. You know, especially if it's like a random alternative rock group that you think that sounds, you know, worth having a part of your collection. And I just so happened to do that. I mean, this, like I said, this was only for $2. It was in the clearance section, and their other songs are pretty cool. There's Cocoon, that's track number 7, but that's not a single. None of the other songs off this album are singles, but they are still pretty awesome. I am a fan of bands like Luscious Jackson and you know, the other band I mentioned, Poe, and they have like the same, you know, sound. And what other good songs are there? Well, anyway, so for those of you who are into like Luscious Jackson, or, you know, like sort of, it's pretty much anything that has like a female vocalist, like fucking. It's also, they're kind of like a more chiba, you know, kind of like the other bands I mentioned, and I would seriously, you know, give this one a try if you come across this, or if you just want to like listen to it on, you know, on like YouTube or anything. I would check this one out. And so yeah, this album was released in 1999, which was a year before 2000, of course. but but basically, you can't hear them anywhere else, not even on the radio. So just type in "Beautiful" by Joydrop and just give it a listen, or just watch the music video to it and just see what you think. And if you like it, you know, just either you can download it, or you can just find it somewhere at a thrift store or half price books. I mean, I just so happen to have a physical copy of this, and that's basically it. So, Joydrop, Metasexual, made in 1999 from Tommy Boy Records. Thanks for watching.